Hey guys, this is the September 2018 Patron stream. Let's get started. First question, Emily Kroom asks, Hi Natalie, love your videos. My question is, do you prefer deep philosophical questions or lighthearted, fluffy questions? Oh, Emily, lighthearted, fluffy questions. No question, not even a little bit of a question. Okay. Jeffrey Scarsey says, socialism or social democracy? Jeffrey, what did we just say? You're killing my vibe, Jeffrey. Okay, socialism or social democracy? Whichever one causes fewer people to hate me for saying. Which I think is socialism. I think it's socialism. I guess socialism is the right answer. I also think that social democracy is more likely to happen in the foreseeable century. But they're both better than the plutocracy ruled by rapists that we currently have, so I guess let's, I'll take what I can get. Ian says, Hi mommy, would you consider doing more commentary live streams on your older soon to be considered older videos like last year? Love your videos, please notice me. Hi Anne, I'm noticing you. I might. I don't really do live streams anymore except for patrons, and to be honest, it might stay that way for a while. I mean, for a long time I did them, and then I found that I just wanted to delete anything I could delete feasibly that had me in earlier states of transition, so I deleted them all. Maybe there will come a point where I realize it's not gonna get any better, so I may as well do live streams again. So I might do that. At that point, maybe after FFS. Franklin Smith says, this music is really sad. Zoe Blade, you're killing me. She's a happier album, I know. Here's a happy album. Happy Zoe Blade. Zoe Blade makes me happy. Okay. Franklin Smith says, Hello, when the left achieves power in the States, what is our answer to capital flight? How can we ensure that the capitalist class don't just strip the copper wire from the building on their way to the seastead or whatever horrible shit Thiel is working on? Well, we could, ask them not to. I don't know. Guillotine them so fast that they don't have time. Geek Misandry says, do you think it's better to engage TERFs or ignore them? I generally think no. It's not a good idea to engage them, because I think usually they engage bad faith. Their arguments are kind of props for just, hate. But I do think that some things TERFs say, sometimes TERFs say a thing that is true, right? Or sometimes they have arguments that are plausible. And so I do think that in view of that, some of their arguments are worth treating as if they are sincere. So I might do a video, actually. I've for a long time thought about doing a video that instead of just portraying TERFs as villainous, I'm like, okay, let's suppose for a moment that this is not just bigotry. Let's take these arguments and these talking points and look at how true they are. And what's wrong with them, or what their shortcomings are. So I might do a video on that at some point. But if you're on social media, do not engage that shit. Here's what I do. Megan Murphy last time she tweeted at me several months ago, I responded with a Cyndi Lauper video. And when she responded to that, I responded with another Cyndi Lauper video. That's my suggested strategy for responding. She hasn't gotten in touch with me since. Oh, yeah. Let's just put this here just to remind everyone to make sure that we're all taking care of ourselves. Jessica Loganov says, oh, you've been my patron for a while, haven't you? I think I remember reading your name. Loganov. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the differences and similarities between what Tiffany said to Adria backstage in the Tiffany Tumbles. When trans women eschew femininity, it undoes all the hard work I do by playing the game well. And what Justine says to Tabby. When certain trans women eschew femininity, they're to some degree giving up the opportunity to positively affect how people think about trans women. I see how Tiffany is ultimately being self-serving and Justine is not, but how else would you say these two ideas compare? I agree they are saying something similar. I think what's different is that Tiffany has different motivation from Justine. Tiffany is very unhinged. She's reactive. She only can see trans people through a cis lens. And so, as far as she's concerned, I think as far as Tiffany's concerned, like, if a trans woman isn't seeming womanly to cis people, then she's not a woman, which is why she's willing to misgender, particularly, other trans women. Whereas Justine doesn't have that extent of internal self-loathing, but she's just making a strategic move. Like, if you're gonna come off as like a violent man, that's not good, I think, from Justine's perspective. But I don't think Justine thinks that. I think Justine has more faith in trans women. She has more faith in like the basic womanness of them and just wants to help them do better. Whereas Tiffany doesn't want to help. She just wants to preserve herself in the moment. Scarlet Crow says, where'd you find the wig you used for Tabby? Oh, someone has already linked that. Oh yeah, Tabby Halloween costumes. It's almost the season. Watch out for trick-or-treating Antifa cat girls. Also, hey girl, what's the furthest you've ever been with another trans woman / porn star? Care to do some research? Call. Okay, well. Michael Williams says, in anticipation of Canada legalizing marijuana on October 17th, what is your preferred method of cannabis consumption? I guess edibles. But I don't really do weed anymore because it just makes me so anxious, and it sends me into like this death spiral of internal problems. So I don't really do it. The only I do like doing edibles sometimes at night to go to sleep because it helps me sleep. But I don't really do it anymore. But if it was legal, I probably would. Robert Secundas says, how Socratic do you intend your dialogue videos to be? For example, do you intend your viewers to extrapolate out some middle position between Justine and Tabby in the most recent video? Or are your dialogue videos not intended to lead the viewer to some answer so much as just lead them to wrestle with certain issues? I think that video in particular has no answer. It's a puzzle. It's a mystery that has no solution. It's just the presentation of a situation. And I think it invites us to empathize with both perspectives and see what they're feeling and thinking. But I think at the end, no viewer is going to come to the same conclusion as any other. And it's sort of up to the audience, up to all of us to decide what to do now. Recarder says, Hey, I wanted to thank you for that last video. It was really validating to know to how I view my own gender and how that interacts with the world at large, and vindicated some feelings about the discourse. My question is, despite the subject matter being pretty safe and on brand for you, its reception has been quite polarizing. Is this something you expected while writing it? To some extent, yes. So I knew that it was going to be like kind of controversial when I was writing it, and it was on about the level I was expecting. My mistake was tweeting about it. Like, I was like, oh, I'll clear up this controversy by clarifying what I meant on Twitter, as if any tweet has ever improved anything. And now, of course, it's the 5th time that the trans community on Twitter decides that I'm evil. The 5th time this year. So, I mean, this is just like, it happens, about as often as I have laser hair removal appointments. Larry Yellingman says, oh my god, I hope your real last name is Yellingman. That's a great last name. No question. Just want to say you're fucking amazing. Your fashion sense is strong, and I love the lighting and your sets. Thank you, Larry. Okay, slight question. Oh. Would you be interested in appearing on a podcast about yelling at silly news articles? Maybe. I don't really do a whole lot of podcasts lately, but that sounds kind of fun. Matthew, oh my gosh, we always have this talk about how to pronounce your name. I'm always like Matthew Chabin, Matthew Chabin, Matthew Shabin, Matthew Shabin. Okay. Apologies for bringing up last year's news, but I'm a new fan. I'm just getting caught up. As a center-left, problematic South Park liberal type who is nonetheless totally in the tank for you, I was dismayed and angered by the treatment you received over things like Brunchgate and the Jesse Single piece. My first instinct is to go after your critics for being stereotypical PC haters. At the same time, I realize the friendly right exploits these riffs, and I don't want to contribute to that or be confused with those clowns, or cause you more grief with your base. Should people like me just stay out of it? How can a bastard son of House Centralia sworn to your banner be of service? P.S. You're doing great work and you look amazing. I kind of miss the old Mozart openings though. Thank you, dear. How do people help? I don't know. I can't even figure out how to help myself. Like, I think, I don't know. I just appreciate messages of support, so that helps. That's an easy thing. Thank you, Matthew. Okay, Bill Conrad says, first, I really appreciate... Thank you. Exposition for the question. The details about your lifelong road towards transitioning, the video about autogynephilia, have validated a subconscious debate I've been having in my own head for several months regarding my own gender identity. That led to experimentation, which led to gender euphoria I otherwise never would have felt. I'm starting a Tumblr about my questioning this transition. Additionally, one of the comments on your video on the incel said the video inspired him to leave those toxic forums. So, given the fact that your channel has done concrete, objectively good things for others, how are you holding up with the whole Twitter thing? Does the relentless online critique harassment overshadow the objectively good things that you have done for the online left trans community? If so, how can we help offset that? Because you've given us, me in particular, a lot, and I want to repay that debt. How am I holding up? I mean, it's just like, I've never been treated well by trans Twitter, except like the first 2 months of my transition, when I was like love bombed by them, and they say, you're so pretty, you pass so well, and then, 6 months later, you don't pass, and they fucking resent the idea of passing. So you're just like, I don't know, it sucks. I don't, I mean, I just need to, I don't know. I should just pay someone else to do social media for me so that I don't have to look at it. As far as how to offset that, I don't know. It helps to know that there are a lot of people who still like what I'm doing. Like, like I just said, like, receiving comments like this of support are helpful for me, because it is like, what happens is like a fucking monsoon of I am evil comes at me, and it feels like it feels like I'm just hurting everyone and I should stop. So knowing that some people don't want me to stop does make it easier to continue. I should probably delete my Twitter. Like, I honestly should probably delete it, because like that's gonna make my life online longer, honestly. Like, because I fantasize about quitting like constantly now, like, but like, I don't know, the money is good, and it is kind of like, in some sense, my life's work and my artistic passion. But I do think about, like, what if I just delete everything and like become a florist? Like, I think about, I fantasize about that all the time. I think I should delete maybe parts of things. If I delete Twitter, that might help. So that's probably step one. Okay. Alice says, oh wait, did I skip someone? Oh, no, I didn't. Yes, I did. Haley Wozniak says, hey, big fan, fellow trans woman here. How would you recommend a trans person who lives with an how would you recommend a trans person who lives with an unaccepting family to be themselves? Sorry if the wording is shit, and also sorry if this has already been asked in a previous AMA. Love you lots. Oh, thank you, Haley. That's a very hard situation. I fortunately didn't really have to deal with that, because by the time I was transitioning, I was kind of financially independent and I didn't live with my family. So there, you know, it kind of made things easy for my family, because they were like, it was like, accept me or just bye. Like, and you know, I didn't depend on them. But if you do depend on them, well, I mean, it's not a situation I've had to deal with, but I know it's a situation a lot of trans people have to deal with. And so I might not be the best person to ask, but you know, a lot of people lead double lives, because I know a lot of trans people who are in that situation, and they tend to lead double lives. You know, either an alternate life online or an alternate night life where they go out away from their family and be themselves. But also, yeah, whatever you can do to get out of there, do that too. But in the meantime, you know, just because your family doesn't accept you doesn't mean you're not valid. Like, your family, you know, people you've known a long time, in some ways, it's hardest to get those people to accept you, because the mind forms like very rigid ideas about the gender of a person that we've known for a long time. And so to start thinking of a person as a different gender is very difficult, even for people who are very accepting. So just remember that, like, your family misgendering you and not understanding you, like, that's not necessarily how the world is going to treat you. Because, you know, when you go out and meet people for the first time, they see you for the way you are now, and they don't see, like, your childhood like your parents are going to. Okay, Alice says, hi Contra, thank you for having the courage to make your last video. You're very welcome. I really got a lot out of it, and I felt motivated to struggle through reading Judith Butler yet again. It is struggle, isn't it, Alice? I'm curious if you found Butler's philosophy to be the most helpful to your transition from a pragmatic perspective. That is, did she do the most to help you understand or respond to your situation? If not her, whom? I guess philosophically, and again, I don't read a lot of philosophy lately, but like, in my past, I read a lot of Wittgenstein, specifically the philosophical investigations, and that with this idea. It's not Judith Butler, but it kind of goes hand in hand with Judith Butler really well, because it's a theory about what meaning is, and that is that meaning is kind of use. It's pragmatic. It's not metaphysical. It's not about whether you have a feminine or a masculine essence. It's about what you do, how you move in the world, what kind of practices you're involved with. That's what meaning comes from. And that to me is, I guess I can say it here. I can't say it on Twitter, but that's how I think about gender. Like, I don't think I'm a woman because like there's some secret core of womanhood deep inside me. Like, I think I'm a woman because I'm like doing womany stuff. Like, because that's the way I interface with other people, you know. That even though I have, you know, XY chromosomes, presumably, like, I don't perform the male social role, so there's not really any utilitarian or pragmatic sense in which I'm a man. But that's pretty dense too, so I don't know how helpful philosophy is. If you like it, then read it, but if you don't like it, fuck it, it's not that useful. Okay. Melissa Boyko says, "Hello, Natalie. Thanks for your continued work." You're welcome, Melissa. In the video for the aesthetic, what's the significance of Tracy Mount's framing device? What does it mean in the very end when there's video of, I think, the left, and we watch her gloriously manicured fingers turning it off? Okay, so I think it's ambiguous what it means. And sometimes when I'm making like, because that part of the video, the Tracy Mounts part, or that like post-credits part, that's me being arty. And to me, what being arty means is that I don't even know what I'm saying exactly. And instead of like making a definite point, I'm choosing images and sounds and words that I think give me a certain feeling. And so I think I'm evoking a certain feeling and invoking a sort of open question. There's a really, really good video essay I just watched by a video essayist I'd never heard of before, who's very underrated. Let me see if I can find her channel. I just liked it on Twitter. Yes, Sarah did it now on Twitter. But hold on, let's find the YouTube channel. Okay, the YouTube channel is called Let's Talk About Stuff, and she made a video called Nobody Wins, ContraPoints, the Aesthetic, and Negative Representation. It's a 28-minute video essay, kind of like interpreting the aesthetic, that video. And I watched it, and I just watched it before I did the stream, and I thought it was quite good. So if you want answers to those questions, I really think she kind of gets it. And you can let her know I said that too. Okay. I know the video caused internet polemics, so be kind to yourself and resist masochistic epistemology, okay? Thank you, dear. Okay. Nahu says, "Hi Natalie, greetings from Mexico. Given the very enlightening points made in the aesthetic about how gender identities are very linked to performance and societal recognition, and given the healthy but incredibly slow erosion of gender lines in general, will we ever— what is this music? It's fucking gorgeous. Have I never used this track? This track is going in a video. Okay, sorry. The healthy but incredibly slow erosion of gender lines in general. Will we ever reach a point in which gender becomes a useless concept, or is there some quintessence to gender? I would like to think that we can eventually do away with the whole concept, but I'm cisgender, and I understand I have an incomplete view of gender since I've never had to deal with my identity. Apologies if the question is too basic, or as you said in the video, pointless speculative fiction. Keep up your amazing work. Thank you. No, far from being too basic. It's funny, when people who are sort of new to a philosophical issue ask questions, they don't ask basic questions. They ask, in some ways, what are like the deepest questions that there are. And I think that question is one of them. Like, could there be a society without gender, and what would that even be? So, personally, I doubt it. I think that... So here's one of those things TERFs say that I think probably there's something true about. Gender, historically, probably comes from... I mean, of course it does, right? It comes from the fact that human beings are mammals with binary sexual functions. Now, that's not the beginning and end of gender, is it? It's the beginning of gender. And what I think gender rules are, what gender is a given culture and society's way of dealing with the fact that we have this sexual dimorphism. Now, that doesn't always involve binary gender roles. There's like many societies that have third gender roles, two-spirit and so on. Or, you know, our more modern Western idea of a transsexual or a non-binary person. And I think that these are deviations from the norm, but I think that my suspicion is that gender would never completely go away. Because I think I think it could become radically changed. It could become more just. It could become more conducive to human happiness. It could be better suited to modern social life. But I don't see gender ever vanishing entirely. No, I doubt it. But again, that's not an argument. It's just like, these are the limits of what I can imagine for humanity. But maybe humanity is capable of something past the limits of what I can imagine. It's always possible. Okay. Wednesday, La Rocha. Guys, can I just be honest? This is a boozy Coke I'm drinking, and like, I'm getting more talkative because the vodka's hitting me. Okay. Wednesday, La Rocha, asleep on the sofa. I love the name, love the rhyme. I'm here for it. Okay. Hey Nat, what exactly is the role of facts in political discourse? Oh boy. Oh no, I just accidentally hit the back button. Fuck. Hold on a second. Okay, hold on. What is the role of facts in political discourse? I had a brief exchange with my good buddy creationist Stevie, and not only does he believe that the Earth is a perfectly realistic 6,000 years old, but he's also a very self-satisfied non-voter who didn't see the difference between Trump and Clinton, and thus stayed his wise ass home. I feel like facts, and really the entire concept of shared reality, are completely worthless at this point. Distressed hissing and meowing, house music continues. That was, I love that you pointed that out, because that was my favorite subtitle of that last video. House distressed hissing and meowing, house music continues. Yeah, but okay. Facts. Yeah, I think facts don't matter that much these days, which is bad, I guess. I don't know. I think stories matter more than facts. I used to be, back in 2012, I was a canvasser for the Obama campaign. So I was one of those people who interrupts good, hardworking Americans at their homes and tries to propagandize them on their doorsteps. And I used to, one thing that I found is that people, they don't respond very well to facts. No one is convinced by facts, right? Like, you would start talking policy, or you talk like facts, but no one cares. And they told us that, the campaign office told us that. They're like, don't talk about facts. Don't get bogged down about what's true and like what the policies are. Instead, tell stories. So, what you're trained to do instead is tell a sad story about your aunt with cancer and how like Obamacare was helpful. And honestly, like, stories do work better than facts. So that's honestly, I think, part of the aesthetic is that, like, feels over facts, honestly. Like, that's what convinces people. That's like the pragmatic method of public reasoning, which is, you know, it's anti-philosophical, but like, too bad. Philosophers are detached from reality. You've officially been a patron for a year. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Wednesday. La Rocha asleep on the sofa. I love you too. Okay, Evie Rosk. Evie Roski. Roska. Evie Rosk. If I just pronounce it every way I can think of, it's fine. I often imagine how nice a hug from the golden one might be. What about you? Yeah. I'm here for that. I mean, no. I mean, he's a fascist. No. I would never. But, okay. Skibbity Boo says, out of anyone in history, who would you have dinner with? Who would you jump scare? Who would you throw a pie at? Also, you look gorgeous in your profile, in your new profile pic. Oh, thank you, dear. Okay, who would I have dinner with in history? Quentin Crisp. Who would I jump scare? Immanuel Kant. Who would I throw a pie at? Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, like, it's a little obvious, but if I really had the choice, I feel like if you say anyone other than Hitler, you're just wrong, right? Like, I want to, like, if you have the opportunity to pie Hitler, you have a moral obligation to do that, right? Okay, okay. Oh, it's this one. You don't get a thank you, but, oh, that's a long name. Okay. I had a question about fan backlash, but it was poorly phrased and kind of insensitive, and other people have asked it better. I guess, what's the ASMR thing about? It's really funny, but it seems to have gone away recently. I mean, it's not about anything, it's just funny. And I like ASMR. Yeah, I mean, there's only so many times you can do a joke before people get, oh, she's doing the ASMR gag again. Like, you know, you gotta keep it fresh, you gotta keep doing new things. But at a particularly unexpected moment, I could see the ASMR gag coming back in some way. Also, what do you most want to pour over yourself in a bathtub that you've not yet poured over yourself in a bathtub? I really want to be in a bathtub of spaghetti and then pour sauce on myself. Alec Wild says, which bird would you be? Thoughts on string lights versus LED lights. Okay, that's two questions. Okay, what bird would I be? I would be a bird of paradise, and string lights versus LED lights. Different options for different functions. So string lights are good, like the ones I have in the back. Those are like little decorations. I don't know, girl. Whatever works for you. LED lights are good. Like, put like LED lights on your shelves. That looks good. Lugnut92 says, "Hi Natalie. I want to start by just saying how amazing your work is." Oh, thank you, Lugnut. Sorry, is your name not pronounced Lugnut? Is it pronounced Lenu? I don't know how to say words. Okay. I'm fairly new to your channel, but your particular view on what it means to be trans really connects with me and has validated a lot of how I feel about myself. For my questions, I saw that you follow BoJack Horseman on Twitter. Have you had a chance to watch the most recent season? If so, what did you think? What character did you identify with? I haven't watched the most recent season. I followed BoJack Horseman on Twitter because I recently met and hung out with Lisa Hannawalt, who is the the lady who draws BoJack Horseman. And I haven't seen the new season yet, but I should see it. I love Amy Sedaris in that show because Amy Sedaris is my favorite person ever. And so I guess that character I identify with. Compass Rose says, my question is pretty stupid, and there's way better ones. I just couldn't quite find it. There are no stupid questions, Compass Rose. You are valid. I support your question. All right. Is there any sort of thing to send fan art to? Like a higher res file that maybe wouldn't look so good squished into a tweet? You can send it to my email, contrapoints1@gmail.com. You're very welcome, dear. Okay. TS says, hello, Natalie. What are constructive ways to talk to people you know who are right-wing or libertarian? Well, it just, I mean, I would say if you can sort of like, I don't know. I don't really do that so much. I don't really do that as much anymore. Like, talk to right-wing people. I'm kind of over it. But a constructive way to talk to them, like, I mean, you can push back against. So here's something I've noticed. Like, when I get in Ubers in Baltimore, when there's white Uber drivers in Baltimore, like 1 in 10 times they want to go on some kind of fucking racist rant, and I'm sitting there and like I feel like I have to say something, because I feel like if I don't say anything, I'm just like because here's the I'm not confrontational at all. I hate saying things. Like, I hate like I don't want to argue with my Uber driver. I just want to get where I'm going. But if they're going on some kind of racist rant, I feel like I have to say something, because if I don't say something, then it's like I'm like going along with it. So I will very mildly suggest something. So I was recently in an Uber. The Uber driver is like a white Baltimore woman, and she says, like, something on the radio comes on and is about some guy is suing a hotel because they were racist to him and they wouldn't let him check in or something. And what she says to me is, why does he have to make everything about race? Like, if you ask me, if you're trying to make everything about race, and you're a real racist. And I was just like, oh god. And I was like, well, I'm sure that there are people, I'm sure that there's a lot of racism that like we don't see because we're white, and like, you know, even if you don't see it, I'm sure that people do experience racism. You know, this is like a very gentle pushback, but just the fact that I said that, she kind of backed off immediately, and she was like, yeah, I guess so. Like, you know, so to me, it's not about convincing someone. It's about showing them that, like, no, not everyone agrees with you. Like, that actually that your perspective is not just the default common sense, and that there are like people who dissent to that. There are people who are like, no, I don't agree with that. So like, literally just being there, being someone who disagrees, I think sort of can make them check themselves a little bit. So that's what I would suggest, I guess. You can't take the burden of like persuading people on yourself. Why does everyone always try to start racist conversations with me? I feel like I don't give off racist vibes. Aubergine says, hi, respect to you being a YouTube star. Well, my two favorite philosophers are Baruch Spinoza and Friedrich Nietzsche. They opened my mind in understanding how socially conditioned society is by religion, in believing free will exists. I only observe determinism now and understand free will does not exist, as nothing scientifically suggests it. Even quantum mechanics doesn't make one have choices or decisions in life. My life, yours, and everyone's plays out a certain way from birth, with nothing we can change or do to alter it. Knowing all this, my question for you is, are you a cat or dog person? Or what is your favorite type of cake? This is the greatest question I've ever received. Okay. cat. I am a I guess I'm more of a cat person. And cake. Oh my god, my favorite type of cake is Black Forest cake because my mom always used to make it when I was little, and it's good. And it has Black Forest cake. Okay, Justine Bell says, "Hi Natalie. One question has been repeating in my brain over the last several weeks. It seems simple, but it's proving to be more and more difficult for me to answer, especially in recent days. Here it is. What the fuck?" Thanks. Okay, the fuck is what? Nailed it! Love that! Prager Jones APC says, "Greetings from San Diego. 1. What audio-visual equipment do you use in production of your videos and live streams?" Okay, videos. Canon 60D. I use a German long... I don't know anything about equipment. I was supposed to say, I use... I use a German long mic. This isn't that funny. This isn't funny at all. A German long mic. It's a Sennheiser. It's a Sennheiser boom mic. I'm dying. This is not funny. It's not funny. Why am I laughing? Oh god. I'm sorry. Okay, and then sorry, what was that other thing? Camera. Okay, software. I use Premiere Pro. I looked at the chat. I looked at the chat. It's too funny. Oh god. Okay. Okay. Oh my god. I'm like literally crying from how hard I was laughing at nothing. Okay. I'm losing my mind, guys. I'm like I'm not holding it together. Lighting. I use LIFX bulbs. LIFX bulbs. You can buy them on Amazon. Do I have opportunities for corporate sponsorship? I do not. Well, what are you asking? Am I looking for corporate sponsorship? Not really. I make enough money on Patreon, and I don't think people like me being corporately sponsored. So, no thanks. Okay. Guys, I can't recover from German long. German long mic. Okay. 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 RSS. Sorry, I know you've answered this before, but what's the fancy LED thing you use to do your lighting in your room? Oh, that I control with my phone. Yeah, those are LIFX bulbs, LIFX, like I just said. You can get them on Amazon. They're kind of expensive, but they're really cool. Okay. Sean Tilson says, "I thought I asked this last month, but I can't find my name in the list of questions. Apologies if I missed it somehow. Is there something you have changed your mind about since beginning this channel? This is inspired by one of your early videos about how you used to be a shitlord, and I'm curious if you have thought about making a similar video about changes in your views since you began this channel." Oh my god, yeah, I've changed my views about so many things. I completely think my cultural appropriation video is an embarrassment. I don't know. I would say I would like tweet something about it, but like honestly, I could tweet something about it. I could probably tweet something about it because like the bar for white people is very low. like, in terms of how woke they have to be. Like, you can be white and a piece of shit, and people are still like, well done for not being racist. Like, it's really, I don't know. It's different from me talking about trans issues. So I should do that. I should make a Twitter thread about why my cultural appropriation video is bad, and I can talk about why cultural appropriation is bad, and everyone will be like, wow, we stand a non-racist. Okay. Second is a yes/no question, so I don't feel bad. Do you like the mountain goats now? Yes, I do. Thank you for sending them to me. What are your thoughts on making a video about modern conservatism, specifically Ben Shapiro? That's Justin Whitney's question. Well, honey, hold that thought. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a good suggestion. Very good suggestion. Kiana Kristen says, with your forays into lighting, set design, and more elaborate costuming, would you ever consider working in film or on the stage? If you were to pursue a career in those venues, what would you see as your role? Director, actress, costume? Yeah, I've thought about that. I feel like I'm gonna be too old to be a face soon. So I've thought about, like, what do I do after that happens? I guess directing, maybe. I like costuming too. I could go one of those two roles. I would probably like either of them. Paul Keith says, well, this is directly tied to my private message, but how do you tie in your narrative with your current knowledge? There are elements of your videos that are really well thought out in terms of delivering a narrative, but then there are things, as with most things, that come off like trade-offs someone has to do when they cannot afford the time to do further research. And pull off a vid based on what they've grasped, because things like with Jordan Peterson shows you still dug around like many YouTube creators, but then the latter half of the psychedelic journey, not just in the Peterson video, since my PM to you was related to the incel video, loses a lot of the footing you established. It's like a Hodorowski film without the ending in terms of philosophical layers. Okay, what's the question? How do you tie in your narrative with your current knowledge? Well, I agree with you, actually, that I think that my videos tend to start better than they finish, but I think almost everything in the world starts better than it finishes. Like movies, books. I always think that. I'm always like, I love the first halves of movies generally. Like, it's like introducing a topic or a story is incredibly exhilarating, right? Like, you're like, wow, you enter this new world, or you enter this new thought. Conclusions are rarely satisfying because we don't like conclusions. We like mystery, right? So, like, you know, people think they want things tied up in a neat package, but like, they don't. What they want is the feeling of wanting that, which is what you get at the beginning of a thing. Wow, my hair, what is going on? Okay. I don't know if that answers your question, but I do think that oftentimes for me, when I'm approaching a video, like, I don't have a final answer. Like, I don't know what incels should do. Like, I can't fix their problems for them, but I can, like, think about the reason that my videos tend to go absurd right at the end is that I don't know. How should I know? So I guess that's the reason. Okay, Alexandra Nakiscu. Okay, Alexandra Nakiscu. Have you ever considered making a video on immigration? I know you touch upon it in the West and the videos on the alt-right, but it feels like it would be a theme well suited to your approach. From personal experience, including as an immigrant myself, I found it frustratingly difficult to have a non-emotive conversation on a topic where people's views are often based on deep-set convictions about identity. How would you pick apart the anxieties underlying conservative or right-wing discourse on immigration to persuade someone that immigrants will not bring about the collapse of Western society, sink their island? I have touched on sort of immigration in a lot of videos. It's sort of like, at this point, it's like not the most current topic on my channel, but I do think that it's kind of in the background of a lot of what I think about, which has to do with like questions of identity and nationality. Sorry, your question is, how would I pick apart anxieties underlying right-wing discourse? I mean, that's something that's like, it takes a lot of work. I guess a lot of my videos are about trying to pick apart that anxiety. Like, look, cultural identity or national identity is not something that's fixed. Like, these things are all every identity is hybridized. Every nationality evolves over time, and like, fearing change just doesn't make sense. But I you know, when you're going against like traditional chauvinism, it's of course hard to make that argument. But you know, one thing you can try is appealing to the fact that what they think of as their like fixed, rigid traditional identity is itself a kind of hybrid. Eden Gilad says, Gilad. Hi Natalie, before my question I want to thank you. I started watching your videos a little over a month ago, and watching them just made something click inside me and made me question and explore who I am. In less than a month I knew that I'm a trans woman. So thank you for changing my life. You're welcome. So in the short time since realizing I'm trans, I've already felt a lot of changes in me, like feeling better about my body even with the dysphoria, feeling more confident, or feeling things like sex, relationships, and having kids that suddenly seem possible. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that haven't changed so far. Like my interests and opinions have stayed largely the same. My question is this: in your experience, is there any rhyme or reason to what does and doesn't change? Or does it just vary from person to person? If it's not too personal, what are some things that did or didn't change for you? Of course, I'm about 1 week into this, so I can only assume that more things will change with time and transition. Yeah. So different people have different views about this, because I know some people feel like transition is literally just physical changes to my exterior that match my interior, you know, who I truly am because of my identity or whatever. I don't feel that way. I feel that I've had to transition in the way that I want to. I have to change a lot about myself, including making changes to my personality. Not necessarily changes to my opinions, although some of my opinions inevitably do change. And I think that a lot of the changes that happen are not changes that you like consciously will, but they're changes that occur in response to the difference in the way that the world treats you. So I think a lot of trans people find it much easier. I think a lot of trans people tend to move much further to the left, politically, for instance, because being treated as a pariah, or you know, or as subhuman very often when you're not used to that, makes it much easier to empathize with other groups of people who have to deal with related issues. And I guess one thing that's changed with me, like an opinion that's changed, or a kind of style of opinion forming that's changed since I transitioned, is, like I was saying about cultural appropriation, I feel like I have a much more intuitive sense now of what that means. I guess I have an intuitive sense of what it means to feel that you belong to this group of people who kind of struggles to find basic acceptance, and that, you know, when the people who have an easier time of it you just feel the sense of a maligned group identity. Once you sort of know what that feels like, it changes how you look at other kinds of groups. Maximilian Kirchhoff says, I am a new follower after seeing you speak at XOXO. Oh, yay. Your videos and talks I've seen are so damn good. The way you connect concepts of all sorts in philosophy, psychology, etc. to everyday experiences and the context we're all living in right now is incredible. Oh, thank you. I studied philosophy for a while before dropping out in my last semester and never thought I would be so tickled and so informed so thoroughly by videos like yours, Natalie. Oh, you're very welcome. It's so inspiring to watch your videos and hear you speak, and reminds me why I loved reading philosophy, especially the postmodernists. Who says that? I was curious who you think is a great philosopher, writer, heady mofo to be reading right now. Yeah, who's a great philosopher to be reading right now? I mean, as I've said in the past, I don't read a lot of philosophy these days. A living philosopher who I like a lot is Kwame Anthony Appiah, who's like pop version of his philosophy. I cited pretty frequently in my video on the West. But he has other interesting books. He has a book called Cosmopolitanism that's about ethics in a world of multiculturalism and how to negotiate that. So I think that he's a great philosophical writer of our time. Stephen Green says, what do I need to do to transition to be beautiful and smart like you? Oh, Stephen. Wow. Or Steph, or whatever you want to be now. Sorry, this is not... I'm sorry, I'm making inferences that are unfair. To be smart, I don't think I'm very smart. So to be smart, go hang around smart people and learn from them. To be beautiful, watch lots of makeup tutorials and just whatever kind of garbage you have on your face, just paint over it. That's what I do. Wow, what an answer. Okay, trapped in Austin's boyfriend Brig. Wow, that is a perplexing name. Hi Natalie, hope you're doing well, and please ignore the odd name. It's a joke for the credits of a different project I support very well. I have a pretty simple question. What's the most effective way to give constructive / helpful feedback to you regarding videos? I noticed that any reasonable, fair critiques of your more controversial content often gets bogged down and erased by very, very uncharitable and often incredibly toxic, vindictive hot takes on social media. Well, the video I recommended earlier in the stream, the one... Go earlier in the stream, and what was it called? I thought it was somewhat critical of me, but was very good. I think, like, approaching me from the standpoint that, like, I am trying to, like, live in the world and trying to articulate my life and experiences, and I'm trying to do what's true and what's right and what's fair. And maybe I'm failing at that, but I'm not doing it because I'm evil. Probably, like, that, acknowledging that and responding accordingly, I think, definitely helps. Brad Savvy says, how can a person show support without sounding like they're part of the hug box? I find myself regularly wanting to encourage people in my life, both online and IRL, but I can't help feeling like I'm just showering them with more of the same comforting words that others already have. How can I assure them that I'm being genuine and not just trying to make the sadness go away? Well, I think maybe with a lot of people, just simple compliments do work. I'm in a particularly difficult situation because at the beginning of the stream, when I was less drunk and more angry, I was like talking about the way trans Twitter in particular is at the beginning of your transition, how they all tell you you're beautiful, they tell you pass even though you don't. And it makes you kind of distrustful of those kinds of comments over time. And most people I don't think are as distrustful of compliments as I have become. So I do think that sincerity comes across. Like, you can usually tell when someone's being sincere with it, like insincere or sincere with a compliment. So if you're being sincere, I think, like, honestly, I think that's enough. Okay, Jude Martin says, philosophical question. In response to your two-part about capitalism, I have many points of friction with capitalism myself, but if the man-hour of labor is the fundamental building block of any economic system, then the utopian ideal would be a Roddenberry Kurzweil style of complete automation of all our basic needs, freeing us to pursue our desires. Our current technological march forward is pushing us in that direction as we speak. And without getting bogged down in questions of timeline, or if our toasters will eventually enslave us, is capitalism a faster, albeit more painful road toward that future? I can see communism not having the selfish drive to cut the corners in favor of humanism. That would eventually lead to that utopia. That's the thing a lot of people say, that, like, so I mean, even according to Marx, right, capitalism, like, brings about the end of itself. And that's not the way Marx thought it would happen, but that would be a way of happening. So I think that there's something to that suggestion, that, like, probably there will be a, it's not just gonna happen easily, right? If automation really, really takes over a lot of what human work used to be, then probably there will be a period, which we seem to sort of be entering right now, where a small group of people makes all the money off of that automation, has all the wealth, and then a lot of other people are just, like, unemployed and, like, impoverished. If that situation gets really, really bad, then it's conceivable to me it'll bring about something more like fully automated socialism, right? But for that to happen, it's not that capitalism will do it, it's that that capitalism will reach a point where it's obsolete. And I guess in a sense that is capitalism bringing it about. Okay, Mishka Bear says, first off, love your video on the aesthetic, and I think your perspective on trans femininity is valuable. For a while now, you've played with whether gender is psychological or performative. Do you feel like it's possible to have this conversation in the current climate? It's possible. I feel like I did it in my last video. I don't think it's possible on Twitter. So it's possible to have the conversation, but, like, pick the venue carefully. And so yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, I feel like some people, like, the entire, like, you can't even talk about performativity, which is, like, a whole vast school of, like, feminism and queer theory, because it makes them feel invalidated. But I think that's bad. I think we should be able to talk about it, and I think there still are places we can talk about it. Just Twitter isn't one of them. Dang says, has the recent controversy made you reconsider your relationship with your fan base and the greater trans community as a whole? You said that you did something like that after the drama that occurred around this time last year. It hasn't made me reconsider, because at this point I expect this. I don't trust that part of trans Twitter, because I know that this happens every 2 months. Also, have you considered announcing that you'll release a video tomorrow on March 31, and then actually releasing the video on April 1 as an April Fool's joke? Love that! Robert S. Ruland says, apologies if these have been answered. I'm new here. Hold on, let me see how many questions I've left. How am I doing? Okay, I'm doing pretty good. I've got to do my Discord hangout after this. In it, you were pretty harsh on Anita one of your older videos came up on autoplay. In it, you're pretty harsh on Anita Sarkeesian, and I'm perceiving from the context of newer videos that your opinion has changed. Am I correct in that? If so, how's your opinion changed? When did it change? Yeah, more than a year ago, I was saying that, oops, I was wrong about that. So you're correct in that. Yeah, no, I have a more positive view of Anita than I did when I was an edgy shitlord 2.5 years ago. 2, as your characters have become more defined, do you have anywhere that explains them? Like, I can gather in context, but I think bios would be interesting or funny. Check out my TV tropes page. So search for like TV tropes ContraPoints. That actually does the job for me. Okay, Robert Jones says, as a loony, lush, fishy fashionista and somewhat cowed dilettante, I'm very entertained / interested by your work. Thanks. Anyway, I'm also a big fan of Ayn Rand's fiction and non-fiction op-ed writing. I'm wondering how hip you are to Ms. Rand's work. All the best to you and yours, and have a good weekend. I haven't really read that much of it, to be honest, but I suspect that I don't really vibe with it in view of the whole, like, capitalism supremacy thing. But no, I'm not a fan of objectivism, to be quite quite honest. Okay, Samantha Tucker says, hi Natalie, forgive me if you shared this before, but was there one event / thought that brought about your realization of being transgender, or was it a series of happenings? For me, it was a brief feelings of something not being right within, and at a time I lacked the vocabulary to self-identify. I was 3 years ago this month that after reading an article about a mother whose child came out, and it was this that triggered my epiphany and subsequent journey. Thank you for sharing. Have a wonderful day. I guess to me, no, there was no one event. It happened slowly over years. Going back to my time in Chicago, I would kind of live like a cross-dresser nightlife. And I was very compartmentalized at first. And I was ashamed of it too. Then I decided to make a joke of it on YouTube when I started this channel. And over time I kind of realized that like this was something I was doing that was like really, really important to me. And by performing like en femme, I eventually realized that like I just want to be this. Like this, I'm being the person I want to be when I'm doing this. And that I guess that's what it is. So to me, this is why like to me I'm very interested in like transgender drag queens, because I feel like that's the kind of route that I took to arrive at my own trans womanhood, is that I was initially just performing, you know, as a cross-dresser, as a kind of like inept drag queen, I suppose. And exploring things through the performance led me to realize that like I felt more myself in this performance than I did in my everyday life. That, I suppose, is the biggest factor for me. ContraPoints Dank Meme Stash says, hello, I'm a representative of the ContraPoints Dank Meme Stash fan cult on Facebook. You have expressed that left book can be pretty toxic at times. What are some important ground rules or norms for avoiding or undermining various toxic tendencies? Do you have any other recommendations or words of advice for left book groups in general? Okay, so first of all, I have seen ContraPoints Dank Meme Stash. I visited the Facebook page. You guys are fun. I like you. I like the group. I do like the group. I'm a fan. And I guess that rules or any recommendations or words of advice, I don't know. I don't know how to control an audience. So it's like, this isn't exactly advice to a page manager. I just wish people would be a little more kind and charitable and not so eager and like almost like delighted to disown and cancel people. I don't think that helps. I think that kind of trashing culture makes it very hard to exist for a long period of time in leftist spaces. Alejandro Herrera says, who among the Frankfurt School is the most fuckable? Adorno is a no for me because he hates jazz and maybe hates black people. So I'm gonna say Horkheimer is the most fuckable. I do hope the criticisms of the aesthetic that I sent you in private message were helpful and constructive. I think that, yeah, Horkheimer is pretty fuckable. I agree with you. Who are our other options? Yeah, not Adorno, not Habermas. What about Benjamin? Benjamin's kind of a little nerd, but I could get into that. Jen Van Wyk says, questions. Please speak a little about your creative process. In particular, how you develop your scripts, how the humor, the jokes, the vignettes, and those quick flash visual jokes come to you and get into the final films. I'm always thinking about my next video, I suppose. And I do get little, flashes of ideas. I'll be thinking through something. I'll be like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I did X, Y, Z? And then I'll sort of think about how to incorporate that into the next video. That's I find the most effective comedy is like you go through your day, you think of something funny. I do, there is in my phone, there's like a big notes document that I keep that I like, if I think of like a line or a joke or something, I write it down, and some of those make it into the video. And sometimes, so these things appear at different stages of the process, because sometimes I'll add things in editing. Like I'll be editing the video and I'll be like, suddenly a joke will occur to me as I'm seeing the video playing back, and I'll be like, okay, we can film this like little aside or something. That happens occasionally too. Okay, Fiona says, which of your flaws would you like to be treated generously in a relationship? What do you mean by my flaws treated generously? Do you mean like ignored? I guess my mopiness and oh god. Yeah, I guess my mopiness and self-loathing. 2, you meet the 15-year-old self you left behind. What would you tell them? I would say Jesus, I don't know. I would say, look, things aren't going to turn out as you're expecting. Keep an open mind. Don't try to plan out your whole life in advance. Wait for opportunities to come along and jump at those. Alison Stafford says, any tips on distinguishing fascists from naive centrists? I would say watch for context clues, like what company do they keep, I guess that's my video about decrypting the alt-right is kind of like about that. I guess, yeah, if they have ties, professional in particular, to other fascists, that's a very bad sign. If they kind of seem like they don't give a shit about anything, they're probably a centrist. Do you have any reading recommendations that focuses on approaching Marxism from an economic perspective? David Harvey is all I'm thinking is probably the go-to writer for that. Okay, Dane Bow says, I just wanted to say how much I love the aesthetic. I think it's a video that extends to many folks, trans or not. It definitely gave me the feels and really stuck with me, as I'm sure it did with many others. No question today, just wanted to add to the love and support. Thank you, Dane. Thank you. Cloud Sifter says, hi Natalie, I just discovered your videos after reading an article about you about 1.5 months ago. Within a week, I watched them all and became a Patron supporter. I love the work you do, the debating, debunking the alt-right, the transcentric topics, and all the other progressive issues. I'll admit, some of your more recent videos make my head hurt, but in a good way. as the initial confusion leads to deeper understanding. What other video games do you enjoy? You've mentioned like Skyrim and The Sims. Do you also like Fallout 4? I really never play video games these days. I should, because I want to keep up with like culture. But like, what was the last video game I played? I play horror games. I guess I like horror games because I like to feel something, got anything. I should play Fallout 4, I guess. That sounds fun. Ollie, I can see you in the corner of my eye. I'm just focusing on the question. Peter Bond says, "Hey Natalie, I'm wondering what your thoughts on the democratic socialism model in Scandinavian countries are. They largely follow Keynesian principles while working in a neoliberal market model. All the best." I think that's better than what we have in America, and I think it's more attainable and conceivable. So I think that's basically a good idea, except if you're traveling through those countries and you're in Iceland and all the booze is really goddamn expensive, and I still have to pay for American healthcare, and the Icelandic people get real healthcare. Then fine, they get expensive booze, but when I'm in Iceland, I have to pay for expensive booze without even getting healthcare. That's what I think. Okay, Charles Lynchner says, "I just moved to Baltimore to work for the Real News Network. Would you agree to visit us for an interview?" Sure. That's easy. Moon Moss says, "Love the high-speed tutorial. You are what you are. I really wish everyone would understand that their path is their own and that there is no common mold that we fit. Anyway, is there any activity that you found to be fun that also burned calories for you?" I don't really do many fun things that are also a workout thing. I do these like lower body workouts using resistance bands that I learned from Theron, who taught me to have, you know, a little bit more of thickness in thighs and ass. Sorry, I know that's appropriative of like fat culture. I'm sorry. But like, to be a little bit more bottom heavy, if you will. So that's what I do. I guess, yeah, I should get into dancing. That would be good. Dimphomaniac says, "Hi Natalie, I'm currently feeling depressed for many reasons, so can you talk about something that gives you joy?" Sure. I actually really do. So I really do like makeup. That's been one of the like joys of the last year, is getting good at makeup, getting better at makeup, because I kind of feel like I need it to go out into the world and face the world. So in a sense, it's like mandatory, so you expect I might resent it, but I find that it also can be it's like a medium of expression and artistry and crafting that I enjoy. So like practicing that and doing makeup looks really has kind of been a new thing in my life that I really enjoy. Fox Green says, "How did you come up with a name for your channel?" I was thinking ContraPoints, like as in like counterpoints, like I'm being argumentative in a sense, right? I'm like countering you know, our mainstream ideas, or the fucking mainstream media, man. No, that's not what I mean. And I was also kind of thinking of music, like contrapunctus in German, or Latin, I mean, and like counterpoint, musical counterpoint. And I wasn't thinking of dialogue videos at the time, but now that I make dialogue videos, ContraPoints is a great name for dialogue videos. I gotta go soon because I said I was gonna do my Discord hangout 10 minutes ago. Okay. I'm sure they're keeping everyone posted. Apartment 5 says, What are your thoughts on sports such as boxing, MMA, kickboxing, and others that turn violence into a competition for the entertainment of others? Seeing as how combat sports / competition can be traced back to early civilizations, is there something in the human mind that predisposes us to enjoy violent competition? Yeah, I think probably. I think we basically have a lot of people have a predilection to enjoy violence for competition. I think that can be, there's many different outlets for that. It doesn't necessarily have to involve real violence, but that does seem to be a thing that people like, you know. And I think video games, hopefully that eventually replaces it and people can get out all their competitive urges through a thing that doesn't lead to concussions. Okay, Haldor Olafsson says, hi Natalie, love your channel, definitely the best channel on YouTube. Have you ever considered submitting any of your short films to film festivals or making one specifically for that? I have, but I also am very busy and so stuff like that just gets overlooked. But I think, I don't know, when I make my videos, I'm really thinking of YouTube as the audience. It would be kind of weird almost, I think, to like submit any of the ones I have to a film festival. And if I was making a video for a film festival, I think I would make it very differently. Liz Tudor says, hey girl, love you too. You've mentioned a lot of times that your cultural appropriation videos one you dislike. Why is that, and would you consider revisiting that topic in the future or doing a commentary? I think that makeup is glib that I do in that video. I think as a white person, it's a little unbecoming of me to be speaking about it like with the confidence that I am. I think it could be done, but it would have to be done differently and better and less glibly and less edgily. So I don't know. I tend to like to avoid talking about race so much now because I feel it's like it's, considering the size of my platform and the fact that like race issues don't really affect me, it's a little bit uncouth for me to be talking about it. But I will probably do some kind of commentary or response to it, yes. Okay, hold on a second. See if there's new questions. This was 70 questions today. Ooh. Okay. Alex M says, the face when I'm too lazy and hungover to formulate presentably cogent questions. Even though I have lots of thoughts about your recent content, but also seek some light parasocial engagement for its own sake. So I guess I'll just ask something based on whatever I've been doing in the last half hour. So do you like Leonard Cohen? Got a favorite Leonard Cohen tune? Yeah, I love Leonard Cohen. I guess I do. Good night, Ollie. What is my favorite Cohen tune? I guess I don't like him that much. I do. I have some friends who love him, and I do like the songs that I know. But the only one that's coming into my mind right now is Hallelujah, which is a song that does make me cry all the time, which is some basic ass shit, but it's still a thing. So I'm sorry. Okay. Faith says, thank you for all your hard work and sharing your thoughts with us. I see you upgraded Abigail's wig. Which character are you going to upgrade costume-wise next? I think I want to make Lady Foppington even more fucking ornate. And maybe Tabby, although I don't know, that costume is kind of iconic at this point. I don't know if I can change it. Ian Mosh says, who are your videos for and why are you making them besides the obvious financial reasons? I'm a set man with shitlordy tendencies and your videos are very convincing and entertaining for me. Do you feel a tension between pandering to your dedicated SJW fan base and trying to convince centrists like me? My videos are kind of for a lot of people. They're designed to appeal both to people who already kind of agree with me and to people who don't necessarily agree with me, and to make me laugh, I guess. So there's not one audience, and I think that, you know, so not to compare my shelf Not to compare myself to Shakespeare, but entirely to compare myself to Shakespeare, who I'm probably a superior writer than. I, I, um, I do like I like how like Shakespeare had to write for like the groundlings and the queen and like you know what I mean? Like I think you write for all of humanity when you have a lot of audience. So I guess that's why I'm the greatest writer who ever lived, is what I'm saying. Okay, Lexi Zananetti says I should probably post something about this hangout. Hi Boo, you're one of the only trans people I'm aware of that in one way or another has said that you were a man before you transitioned, as opposed to having always been a woman. As someone who kind of feels the same way and started transition when the label MTF was still being used, and it felt appropriate for my perception of my transition, it was nicely affirming to hear this. Do you think that the move away from this understanding of transition in a lot of trans circles is helpful or unhelpful? Also, how do you feel about the idea of transness being considered a mental illness? Okay, well, these are multiple questions. The move away from MTF, again, I'm not going to tell people how to identify, how to think about themselves. I think whatever is helpful for the individual is helpful. For me, thinking of myself as having always been a woman is not helpful because I believe that it's patently false. And I watch my, like, you know, pre-transition videos and things, and I don't see a woman trapped in a man's body. I see a man who wants to be a woman. And that's just how I see it. I can't squint my eyes hard enough to see it another way. So I think that it just comes down to like how people see can naturally see themselves. If you just, you know, if it just seems to you like we're always a woman, then go with that. But to me, it doesn't seem like I was always a woman. How do I think about the idea of transness as a mental illness? It seems like it's not very politic to say that nowadays, but at the start of my transition, it was helpful to consider it like that, as it gave my feelings of dysphoria more of an understandable origin. Yeah, so I think that, like, in some ways it is helpful to consider gender dysphoria like a medical condition because it grants us access to surgeries and hormones. But I think that ultimately being trans is not a mental illness. I think that a lot of people who have transitioned live like very fulfilling, happy lives that are not really be plagued much more by you know, those kinds of issues. So I think that it's you know, it's something that can make life very hard. But I don't think it's a mental illness, no. Alyssa K says, "Hi Natalie, as a late 20s trans woman that also made a harrowing escape from academia, I feel like I can strongly relate to your experiences. Your autogynephilia video was one of my favorite pieces of digital media, and I really can't thank you enough for taking time to clarify so many misconceptions about the experiences of trans women. Fangirling aside, I have a more serious question about your experience as a high-profile trans person. Do you feel as though the constant scrutiny of being a public figure has exacerbated your feelings of gender dysphoria or made your transition more difficult?" Yes, I do feel that about both of those things. What advice would you give to other trans people that are thinking about creating content while transitioning? Creating content can be an outlet. It can be good. It has been for me. Like, it's incredibly helpful to my transition in some ways to create content while doing it. But I also think that the size of that platform I have, I don't think very many people in the world understand what I'm going through. I know that sounds really fucking arrogant, but I think I'm in kind of in a very unusual situation, and I don't think a lot of people are capable of relating to it. But thank you for thinking of it, because that makes me feel slightly less alone. Harshal Johnny says, "Whoops, sorry for accidentally sending a message. I'm new to this. Hi Natalie, I'm Tomato, aka Tomato Talks. I've been working on video essays and analyses about various topics, both cultural and political, trying to take a different take of a lot of things. I do have a lot of doubts about my own quality of work, especially after working really hard and seeing radio's silent reception. Would you mind sometime in the future giving me at least feedback on where I can improve? Also, if you're sick of Twitter but want to able to communicate with your fans, try out Mastodon. It's an open source alternative with a lot less toxic community, but still allows you to post updates and stuff. Also, a mini question. What are your thoughts on Soren Kierkegaard?" So I haven't tried Mastodon, but I've heard mixed things. I kind of liked Kierkegaard for a brief period when I was like 22 or 23. Then I read the concluding unscientific prose script in graduate school and was like bored to tears. So the one I like is either or. I think that either or actually is kind of an influence on me. All this worrying about the aesthetic and the moral, that's kind of Kierkegaard talking. So I guess that he's sort of an influence in that respect. Okay, last question, and my voice is going. Emma says, "Hey Natalie, I've chosen a career path that requires a large amount of involvement with police agencies, and I find it likely that at some point I'll have the opportunity to work for them. I personally have a large amount of conflict with my views on what I think police should be and place versus what they actually end up doing and representing. I also completely understand the struggles of minorities that have been systemically oppressed by police, myself recently joining one minority group, recently hatched egg. Teal dear, how would you personally reconcile that kind of cognitive dissonance? Would you go with an avoidance, not accepting those kinds of opportunities should they arise, or go with subtle protest, take advantage of those opportunities, but make some noise?" That's really a question of your own conscience and decision based on what industry you're in and how much damage you think you could be capable of doing. Like, if you feel that you're assisting the police in some way is actually like harming directly disadvantaged groups, I would avoid it. I would protest in that way. But if you think that whatever it is you're doing for the police is kind of not really involved in directly harming people, then I might use that as an opportunity to use your influence to protest. Sure, I would say that's what I would do if I were in your situation. Okay, let's call that a stream. And what a stream. I've got to go do my Discord hangout next, and I'm 20 minutes late. But that's just kind of how it goes around here. Alright everyone, thank you for your questions so much, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all next month. Good night.